接下来呢，咱们进行第3部分的讲解，也就是第4和第6题。我们首先来看一下第14套题的第4题。那么第4题呢，有比较专业性了，那么讲了一些 lecture 的一些内容。我们可以先阅读一下材料，并且抓住一些关键词，它解释的那个名词到底是什么。Psychologists have found that when people make important decisions, they often choose to stay in their comfort zone. That is, they prefer remaining in comfortable, familiar situations rather than entering into new, unfamiliar ones. This tendency is often referred to as the comfort zone bias. When people are reasonably content, they often decide not to pursue a new opportunity, even if it attracts them and offers more advantages. Psychologists believe that the comfort zone bias exists not only because we have a natural preference for what we already know, but also because we want to avoid taking risks. 那么这个地方点出了 What is comfort zone bias？ 那么为什么大家会出现这种 comfort zone bias？ 咱们题目的要求也是一定要用咱们听力里面的 example 来解释一下 What is comfort zone bias？那么还是咱们要先总结一下 reading material 里面的内容。那么知道这几部分咱们要作答的内容之后呢，咱们先听一下听力。
Now listen to part of a lecture in a psychology class.
Okay, so this comes up a lot when people make career decisions. A friend of mine from college always wanted to be a film reviewer. He was a film major and he loved movies. Most of all, he loved to write about movies. So when he graduated, he looked for a job as a film reviewer for a newspaper because, as a film reviewer, he'd get to see films for free and would be paid to write about them. That's what he loved. But he couldn't find a job as a film reviewer. So he took a position as a news reporter instead for a newspaper, investigating stories, writing about events, what news reporters do. Now, at first, my friend wasn't sure he'd be any good at this. He'd never been a news reporter before. But eventually he adjusted and gained confidence, and he got used to the job. And he realized he was actually a pretty good reporter. Anyway, here's the thing. After a few years, the film reviewer for the newspaper where he worked quit, and my friend was offered her job. This was his dream, right? His opportunity to be a film reviewer had finally come. And the new job would actually pay more, too. But did he take the job? Nope, he turned it down. He told me he'd gotten used to being a news reporter, and he just didn't want to try something else. It seemed like too big of a change since, there was a chance that the new job might not work out.
好的，听力听完了呢，咱们一起来参照一下这个答案。咱们在解释一个名词的过程当中呢，一定要抓住解释它的这个定性的这个词，比如说它是一种什么现象，一种什么特质，或者是一种什么情绪。如果说实在没有抓住呢，咱们也一定要抓住它会是在什么情况下发生的。其实在做听力和阅读的时候，一定要注意抓一些关键的一些名词。在这个地方我们看一下，先总结一下 Comfort zone bias is a tendency， 那么抓住这样一个词that we prefer to remain in comfortable, familiar situations rather than enter into new, familiar ones. The reason is that we naturally prefer what we already know and want to avoid risks. This professor takes his friend as an example to explain comfort zone bias. 那么接着就要来总结 lecture 里面的内容了。His friend always wanted to be a film reviewer because his friend loved to write about movies.So when his friend graduated, his friend looked for a job as a film reviewer, but he couldn't find one. Then he took a position as a news reporter, investigating stories and writing about events. 那么这个地方呢，咱们一定要注意，他做了什么样的事情？那么他做了哪些转变？这每一个过程大家一定要听清楚。At first， 那么首先呢，He wasn't sure he would be good at this, but he adjusted, gained confidence, and became a pretty good reporter. After a few years, he was offered a job to be a film reviewer, and the new job would actually pay him more. 那么这么好的机会来了 ，but he didn't take it. He turned it down because he'd gotten used to being a news reporter. He didn't want to make a change because changes at that the new job might not work out. 这个地方完全体现了 what is comfort zone bias. 那么人们啊会出于对躲避风险的考虑而不去从事这样一个事情。那么很好的这个答案呀，首先呀先总结了一下 reading material， and second 他把这个 professor 的一个例子呀非常好的叙述出来了。特别是在叙述一个人故事的时候呀，大家一定要注意每个过程每个阶段他做的是什么，又有什么变化，一定要抓住这样一些关键词，句与句的停顿也要把握好。我们来看一下第15套题的第4题，同样的阅读材料。One objective of any experiment is, of course, to obtain accurate results. Sometimes, however, problems occur that lead to inaccurate results. 导致这样一种错误的结果会有什么原因呢？这就出来咱们要解释的这个专有名词了。One such problem is the experimenter effect. The experimenter effect occurs when the researcher's expectations affect the outcome of the experiment. The researcher expects a particular result from the experiment, and expectation causes this researcher to act in ways that influence the behavior of the experiment participants, thereby invalidating the result of their experiment. 那么同样的，这个科学家呀对这个实验有一定的预期，那么当这个预期呀产生的时候，会影响到其他参与实验的一些东西了。那么同样的，我们也是看一下题目的要求。Explain how the example from the professor's lecture illustrates the experimenter effect. 就这个解释的名词呢，就这样呼之欲出了。那么知道了题目的要求呀，我们同样的也是来听一下听力。
Now listen to part of a lecture on this topic in a psychology class.
For example, I recently read about a case in which a researcher was given 2 groups of monkeys, and he was asked to train these monkeys to pick up a ball and put it in a box. And he was told to record how many hours it took to train each monkey to learn to do this. Now, before he started the training, the researcher was told that one group of monkeys was highly intelligent and that the other group was less intelligent. In truth, there was no difference between them. All the monkeys were actually very similar in terms of intelligence, but the researcher didn't know that. He thought one group was smarter, so he expected that that group would be easier to train. So, what happened? Well, the researcher trained the monkeys to perform the action, and it turned out that, on average, it took him 2 hours less time to train the supposedly smart monkeys than the supposedly less intelligent monkeys. Why? Well, it turns out that with the supposedly smart monkeys, the researcher smiled at them a lot, gave them a lot of encouragement, talked to them a lot, worked hard to communicate with them. But with the monkeys he thought were less intelligent, he wasn't as enthusiastic. He didn't try quite as hard, wasn't quite as optimistic.
听完了听译啊，我们还是来参照一下这个答案。那么第一个部分呀，肯定是对这个专有名词的一个解释。Experimenter effect is a problem that occurs when the researcher's expectations affect the outcome of the experiment. 第一句话给出了一个定义，这是咱们必须要做的。In the example, the researcher was given 2 groups of monkeys. He was asked to train them to pick up a ball and put it in a box. Then he recorded how many hours it took to train each group of monkeys to learn to do so. Before the experiment, the researcher was told that one group is more intelligent than the other, but actually they are all the same. What's surprising is that it took the researcher 2 hours less time to train the supposedly more intelligent group than the supposedly less intelligent group. This is because the researcher thought one group is smarter and would be easier to train, so he smiled to them, gave them encouragement, and communicated with them a lot. However, the researcher wasn't very enthusiastic about the other group. the supposedly less intelligent group. So the researchers' expectation actually influenced the result of the research. 那么期望呀对它高一点的话，那么任务完成的就会快一点。那么这就完全解释了这个专有名词。咱们在叙述这整个 research 里面，一定要注意把每一个步骤都要听清楚，记录一些关键词。还是建议大家不要记整句，因为咱们时间有限。那么接着来看一下第6题。那么第6题都是一个非常学术性的 lecture。那么里面有一些咱们或知道或完全没有遇见过的一些专有名词，或者一些动物植物这样一些知识。那么咱们在这个时候千万不要慌张，一定要注意听那个 lecture。那么先审好题目对咱们的要求是什么，然后再把这个 lecture 里面的主要讲解的几个部分、几个方面，关键词抓住，标好序号。Using the examples of the eel and the anglerfish, explain 2 types of adaptations that help animals survive in the deepest parts of the ocean. 那么这2种鱼咱们可能在做题之前完全都没有见过，但是大家不要慌张，咱们一起先听听听力，看看它们都是怎么样一种动物，有什么特点。
Listen to part of a lecture in a marine biology class.
A lot of plants and animals live near the surface of the ocean, and that means there's a lot of food near the surface because there are lots of plants and animals to eat. But if you go down to the deepest parts of the ocean, it's cold and dark, and there's not a lot living down there, so food is very scarce. So organisms that live down at these great depths have developed special adaptations to help them survive in this environment where food is so hard to find. For example, many deep-sea organisms have body features that enable them to eat prey that are larger than themselves. A good example, there's a species of eel that has an enormous mouth and a large stomach that's capable of expanding. And these unusual features allow this eel to eat prey larger than itself. That's a big advantage, because if the eel eats something big, that's a lot of food, a lot of nutrition. So the eel can go for quite a while before it has to find food again. Another helpful adaptation in some deep-sea organisms is the ability to generate light. And some organisms use that light to help them capture food. For example, there's a kind of fish called the anglerfish, and on its head, this fish has a little structure that produces light, that glows in the dark. This little structure, this little light, is positioned close to the fish's mouth. Other fish are attracted to this light. They think it's something small they can eat, so they swim straight toward it. And that brings them close enough for the anglerfish to capture them and eat them.
好的，那么听力听完了呢，大家一定要注意这2种鱼的特点，并且它分别解释了一种什么现象，它们的自身的优势又是在哪里。The professor uses 2 examples to illustrate 2 adaptations that help animals survive in the deepest parts of the ocean. The first example is a kind of eelfish. This eelfish has body features that allow it to eat prey larger than itself. It has an enormous mouth and a stomach that can expand. So when it captures a big prey, it gains a lot of food, a lot of nutrition. This allows eelfish to sustain very long before it finds another prey. 这是第一种鱼。那么第2种鱼呢 The second example is anglerfish. Anglerfish has the ability to generate light. It has a little structure on its head, which produces light and glows in the dark. The light is close to the fish's mouth, and many other fishes are attracted to this light, so they swim straight toward it, and makes it easier for anglerfish to capture food. 那么这2种鱼的特点就在这个地方非常明显的叙述出来了。咱们一定要抓住这2种东西有什么特色，然后它导致的又是什么样一个后果。那么咱们很多人都会想做听力，那么怎么提高咱们的听力呢？其实咱们的听力和口语是息息相关的。如果咱们在口语中对一个词的发音不是很标准，咱们在做听力的时候同样辨识不出那个词。所以我建议大家遇到一个生词的时候不要轻易的放过，一定要查清楚它的发音，不然第一印象会很大的影响到咱们以后对这个单词的发音。那么 确立好，哎，这就是一个正确的发音以后啊，咱们再把它熟记。那么熟记以后啊，那个听力啊，其实是完全可以通过美剧啊、电影之类的训练出来的。我建议大家呀，看美剧、电影的时候，第一遍咱们啊整个全都看，包括字幕。那么第2遍啊，甚至第3遍的时候啊，咱们一定要把字幕挡上。那么持续经过这么几个轮回的训练之后呢，你就会发现，哎，不光啊你看了你想看的美剧，而且你的听力有了很大的提高。大家可以试一下。那么第15套题的第6题啊，也是一个 lecture 里面的内容，咱们审一下题。它让咱们解释的呀是 The position of birds' eyes is critical to their survival。那么这样一个现象，咱们知道这个题目啊是关于鸟的眼睛的位置的。咱们呀就来先听一下听力。
Listen to part of a lecture in a biology class.
Birds have some of the best vision capabilities in the animal kingdom. Some bird species have vision that is 8 to 10 times greater than humans. Overall, a bird's eyes are extremely important for its survival. One aspect of birds' eyes that plays a role in helping them survive, in other words, to find food or to avoid predators, is the position of the eyes in the skull. Some birds have eyes that face forward on the skull, kind of similar to how humans' eyes are positioned. Forward-facing eyes allow a bird to clearly see and judge distances because it can focus on objects with both of its eyes and correctly perceive height, width, and depth. One type of bird with eyes positioned in the front of the skull is the hawk. Hawks eat animals like mice. Hawks have such good eyesight that they can spot a tiny mouse in a field from high up in the air. They spot the mouse and swoop down to catch it. Without such good eyesight, they would not be able to spot or catch their food. Other birds have eyes that are located on each side of the skull. This positioning of the eyes can help a bird to avoid predators. Instead of just seeing what's directly in front, they can see things that are on either side, permitting them to watch for danger in all directions. Imagine a duck wading near the edge of a lake. It needs to spend time eating grasses and insects, but it also is on constant lookout for danger from its predator, like the fox. An eye on each side of the duck's head allows it to see a fox approaching from either side. If it spots a fox, it can then fly away to safety. The placement of the eyes are critical in helping the duck avoid predators.
好的，听完听力呢，我们也是一样来参考一下这个答案，大家可以对照一下。The professor talks about how the position of birds' eyes help them find food and avoid predators. Some birds have eyes that face forward to the skull so that they can clearly see the judged distance. They can focus on things with both eyes and accurately predict height, width, and depth. For example, hawks position their eyes in the front. They have such a good eyesight that they can spot a tiny mouse in the field from high in the sky. When they spot a mouse, they will swoop down and catch it. 俯冲下来啊，把那个 mouse 抓住。咱们可以学一下这个 swoop down， 还是非常好用的。So the placement of their eyes help them find food. Some other birds have their eyes positioned on each side of the skull in order to avoid predators. 那么第二个方面也是，举一个例子。Their eyes on both sides help them watch for dangers. For example, when the duck is eating grass and insects, it is constantly looking out for danger from both sides. If a fox is approaching from either side, the duck will fly and escape. So the placement of ducks' eyes help them avoid predators. 那么这个 professor 解释的这两种特性呀，都分别举了一个例子，咱们在听的时候可以注意得到。那么它们呀，咱们要先理解为重。理解以后啊，如果实在记不住那里面的关键词，咱们可以自己复述出来。所以对咱们这些托福的考生来说啊，应该不是一件难事。咱们平时啊，一定要注意听说读写啊，最好每天都能兼顾得到。那么以上呢，就是咱们今天讲课的全部内容，非常感谢。